جزاء وفاقا.
4 days after the terror attack in Brussels, ISIS released a video celebrating the bombings that took the lives of at least 31 people.
The video shows multiple angles of the attack and graphic images of people injured. The music playing in the video exclaims, "For the sake of Allah, we terrorize you. For the sake of Allah, we made this choice to kill while our hearts are filled with joy."
This Fresno police body cam video shows police pulling over and demanding that Freddie Centeno hit the ground, but then immediately open fire. The 40-year-old mentally disabled man is hit 7 times and dies in the hospital 23 days later. Attorney Humberto Guzar is representing Centeno's family in a lawsuit against the city of Fresno and the 2 police officers.
This is a bad shooting. It's an atrocity.
In Guzar's view, the video shows the officers did not give Centeno a chance to respond to their commands.
They tell him, get on the ground. He doesn't have a chance to get on the ground. You could count the time from the time they stopped the car, just on real time, 1 second before they began to fire.
The governor of North Carolina signed a controversial law that restricts protections for gays, lesbians, and transgendered individuals. The law came in response to an ordinance in the city of Charlotte, which allowed transgender individuals to use a bathroom of their choosing. The new law says bathrooms or locker rooms be designated for use only by people based on their biological sex.
Well, look at what federal agents found east of San Diego. It's a tunnel used to smuggle drugs from Mexico to the U.S. It runs more than 400 yards from a restaurant to a 3-bedroom house across the border. Authorities say the house was built specifically for the tunnel. Agents seized more than a ton of marijuana and arrested 4 people.
A Colorado landlord is screening his tenants based on their political views and says he won't do business with Trump voters. Landlord Mark Holmes in Grand Junction, Colorado says he refuses to rent his units to anyone who supports Donald Trump. And according to the Fair Housing Act, it is perfectly legal, despite angry callers who disagree with his message. Holmes describes himself as an activist who protested the Vietnam War, and he says Trump's comments about banning Muslims, building a wall to keep illegal immigrants out, and encouraging violence at his rallies inspired the renting restriction. And so far, his ad hasn't hurt business. Holmes already has several applicants who qualify for his apartment.
Authorities in Washington state have shut down a website that claimed to offer Christian prayers in exchange for cash. The state's attorney general says Benjamin Ragovi preyed on about 165,000 unsuspecting victims. He'll now have to pay back as much as $7.75 million to those customers. The site was billed as a sort of online church, offering prayers with a price tag between $9 and $35. Washington Attorney General Bob Ferguson said it was all a scam.
That's exactly what it was, no doubt about it. Pay to pray and under deceptive circumstances. Nothing about it was real.
The site has officially been shut down.
A woman in the Bronx is planning to sue the NYPD after an officer shot and killed her dog. The deadly encounter was caught on camera in the Belmont section. The dog's owner cracked open her door after hearing police in the hallway of her building. When the pit bull walked towards an officer wagging its tail, that's when the officer shot it in the head. The owner, Yvonne Rosado, is now suing the department and the city. The NYPD says it is investigating the incident.
The FBI says it may be able to bypass Apple to unlock the encrypted iPhone of one of the San Bernardino terrorists. So federal prosecutors have now asked to postpone today's hearing, where they were planning to request Apple be forced to unlock the phone. Instead, authorities say they may be able to hack into the phone from a, quote, outside party.
Remember college, when the 2 scariest words you could ever see were test tomorrow? Well, apparently those words are now Trump 2016. At Emory University in Atlanta, somebody heavily armed with a box of chalk wrote the manifestly hostile message multiple times around the campus. Of course, many students were horrified, and a group of 40 to 50 of them gathered outside in protest at the administration building, chanting, "You are not listening. Come speak to us. We are in pain." One student interviewed said, "I'm supposed to feel comfortable and safe. I don't deserve to feel afraid at my school." The administration immediately responded in an email to students. "Grow up and go do some calculus. Also, it's probably going to rain tomorrow." Oh, wait, that was mine. Here's Emory President James Wagner. "After meeting with our students, I cannot dismiss their expression of feelings and concern as motivated only by political preference or oversensitivity. Our commitment to respect, civility, and inclusion calls us to provide a safe environment that inspires and supports courageous inquiry. Wagner said the university will review security camera footage to identify those who made the chalkings. He then promised they would be apprehended, dead or alive.
Water, water everywhere, nor any drop to drink. For nearly 1 in 10 people around the world who lack access to clean, safe water, this phrase is a daunting reality.
The most important issue from 2015 forward is providing safe drinking water.
According to the United Nations Water Agency, UN Water, nearly 663 million people lacked access to clean drinking water last year. Nearly 2.5 billion people do not have access to a toilet, and some 1,000 children under the age of 5 die every day from water and sanitation-related diseases, which is why the UN has set ambitious new goals.
So in the past, we were looking at just whether people sort of had access to water or if they were going to the river to drink it. Now we're looking at really making sure we measure the quality of the water so that people not only have to have that water closer to home, so they're not spending hours to walk for it, but it also is of good quality. It's not going to make them sick.
But the problem goes beyond water access. It's also about how water is managed.
That extremely ridiculous notion of taking a little bit of human excreta, taking a lot of water, and using water as a carrier for sewage is a totally, in my mind, an environmentally foolish idea that has come from the rich north. Countries like us will have to reinvent that entire cycle.
I'm aware that water quality and enough water to drink and keep clean with at home is a key issue. But that's not a volume problem, it's a management problem. If you have enough to invest and enough engineers, we can solve that problem.
Take, for example, the water in this bottle and the water here behind me in this fountain at New York City's Bryant Park. How much of this precious resource is needed and how much is wasted? Some very important questions as the UN looks at how the world can more efficiently manage this resource to fuel not just lives but livelihoods as well.
Living in chains, thousands of Indonesia's mentally ill kept shackled, some in filthy cells, many for years on end. A shocking new report says it's an all too common practice.
I was raging inside, always angry.
It happened to this 26-year-old man.
My parents were afraid that I would hit my niece and nephew, younger brother and sister, and go on a rampage, so they put me inside a goat shed.
Agus is just one of more than 57,000 Indonesians with real or perceived psychosocial disabilities who's been shackled or locked up at least once in their lives. According to a newly released report from Human Rights Watch, the practice, called pasong, is when relatives confine family members with mental illness. It was banned almost 40 years ago, but still goes on today.
They said it was like living in hell, to be shackled, to be locked up in an institution. You cannot even imagine what it is like to see someone who is urinating, defecating, eating, sleeping in that same space for years at a time.
There are long-held superstitions against mental illness in Indonesia. Many there believe people with mental disabilities are possessed by the devil or evil spirits.
The view is that they are less than human. They not capable to make their own decision. They have no hope.
Indonesia's government has taken steps in recent years to improve its mental health services, but the report claims the country is in desperate need of more hospitals and mental health care professionals. Agus is one of the few success stories. He says he's spent 4 years in shackles and has undergone treatment.
I was not raging and angry anymore, not like before. My parents saw me getting better, so they let me out of the shed.
Many others are not as lucky. Human Rights Watch says more than 18,000 Indonesians are still kept in pasong today.